Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to Advanced Bass Fishing, and appreciate you guys hanging with me a little bit and swinging by the channel today. Guys, at the time I filmed this video, we are in the middle of summer. It's the end of June when I'm filming this video, and I want to talk about how that recreational boat traffic, you know, like the pontoon boats and those big wave making things, those wake boats and jet skis and all that type of stuff, what it does to the bass and how it affects them and how you can really, you know, deal with all that increased noise on the lake. So we're going to dig into that in today's episode here. Also, guys, before we get started, I just wanted to extend, a big thank you to everybody out there that has been using all of the links I put in every video description, guys. A lot of you guys know that I've got my tackle warehouse link and my jig link and my sunglass link in every video description. And if you guys are taking advantage of those and ordering some tackle and products through those, yeah, you're really helping the channel out a lot, and thank you very much for me and my family. We really appreciate that. Okay, it gets worse every year, guys. I mean, this is the thing about it. It's like ever since I've been fishing, this noise and the increased activity on the lakes, it just gets worse every year, and I don't see it getting any better. And in most man-made lakes across the country that are fairly large in size, that are public, it's just ridiculous in the summertime. You get from June up until August, every weekend, it's just like a freaking zoo out there. My lakes across the country here, I mean, I live in Missouri, and we have a lake called Lake of the Ozarks, which is probably one of the busiest summertime recreational lakes in the country. And literally, you can't fish on the weekend there. It's like, it is so rough from boat wakes, these big 40 and 50 and 60 foot boats running up and down the lake, and lots of them, that it's literally like a washing machine. And if you try to get out on the main lake, like a Lake of the Ozarks, you can't stand up in a boat. I mean, you can't keep your trolling motor in the water. It's just crazy. So every lake has got some extent to that. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about what that does to the bass. I am fascinated by this topic because I study this a lot, because a lot of you guys that watch the channel, you know I don't like fishing or pressure on the lake. I want solitude and quiet. So here's what's happened, and this is my theory, and you know what I have seen as far as how the fish react to it. Bass are born with this part, it's ingrained in their DNA, this to be conditioned to this noise. It's like ever since a bass is born, they've heard it. They've heard that on the weekends it gets noisier. You get louder motors, you get trolling motors, you get jet skis. There's an increased amount of activity on the lake. So they have adapted and they have evolved to compensate for this and deal with this. That's why you notice that during the week, the fishing's usually a lot better during the week, simply because the noise isn't there. And when you have a noisy weekend with a lot of boats on the water, it sort of acts as the same way that like a bad cold front comes through acts. You know, the fish get harder to catch. It's the same on the weekend. When bass hear this noise, they get inactive most of the time. So here's a couple things you can do if you do fish on the weekend, if you can't get away to fish on the week, that's going to help out. First of all, it's going to help. And of course, I don't like getting out there really early to fish, but if you like to get up early, it's going to be to your benefit to get out there as early as you can before the activity gets up there. If you get out there early as you can, you might find some aggressive fish that like will bite a topwater or something, but a lot of times that's not even going to work. Here's what I have found that this increased noise does to fish. It takes away their chasing instinct, and they not necessarily takes away, but it quiets their chasing instinct. And bass do not want to chase a lure on the weekend on a noisy lake, hardly at all. I mean, it's like if you get out on a part of the lake that has a lot of activity on it and a lot of boats running around, you're simply not going to catch many fish on a moving bait like a spinner bait or a crankbait or, you know, topwater, anything like that. Those fish are hunkered down on the bottom a lot of times. So one of the things that's really going to benefit you is just commit to bottom bouncing lures. Because let's say, for example, you know, there's some fish living out on a point. Now, then maybe there's a drop off on that point or some rocks or whatever. It's like if there's a bass down there hunkered down by a rock on that point, they're probably going to bite like a shaky head or a Ned rig if it's crawled by their face or on that rock, and they're probably going to bite it even if it's noisy out and even if there's a lot of activity. But the odds of them like chasing a swim bait up in the water column, or coming to the surface to bite a topwater, or, you know, even coming up, you know, halfway up to hit, you know, a jerk bait or whatever, that's probably not going to happen, you know, too much. They just do not want to do that. They're not comfortable in leaving those ambush points when there's a lot of noise out there. They don't feel safe to do it, especially if you have bright light. I mean, if you got a lot of fishing pressure and you got bright light intensity, that even makes it worse. So stay with your bottom bouncing slow lures, and also stay with your finessier stuff. If you downsize your plastic worms, instead of like using an 8 or 9 inch plastic worm, go to 6 or 7 inch. Instead of using a 6 inch worm on your shaky head, go to a 4 inch. Put on a Ned rig, put on a drop shot, something like that, a football head jig, and just fish slow. And it doesn't matter what your structure is. It could be points, it could be around docks, it could be, you know, on rocky banks or grass beds or whatever, but you're simply going to get a lot more bites doing that. That's just the reality of the situation. And usually, like I said, this is pretty much limited from about June into August where this happens. Bass are not stupid. It's like, you know, one of the things that a lot of people think, they think bass are these little pea-brain creatures. Bass they're apex predators, and they are not stupid. You can't equate our human intelligence with a bass, but as far as being a master of their environment and their ability to, you know, sustain and survive on this planet for millions of years like they have, they're not stupid, you know, or they weren't able to do that. So that's one of the things that they've adapted to quickly, is to tap down that chasing instinct on the weekends on a not heavy fish, but a heavily used body of water. So anyway, guys, hope that helps out. We'll talk later.